Hello guys and welcome to another video. That was a very energetic start to what is a kind of a serious video. I guess if you clicked into this video, it's either because one, you love me and you can't wait to hear me rant about anything, or two, and this is the most likely answer, that you read the title and you were interested in knowing what I had to say about this. Now, this is kind of a serious topic because it's not something you can take lightly. I'm going to talk about how some people think that Percabeth is an abusive ship. People think that Annabeth is abusive towards Percy. Now, before you go on in the comments and send hate to anyone who thinks this, people are free to have their own opinions and they have their own perspectives of this relationship, but I am just trying to show why I don't perceive this relationship as abusive, and I am going to give so many facts. As a Percabeth shipper who has been a Percabeth shipper for 10 years, a lot of years, and who has read the books a lot of times, both as a teenager, as a young adult, and as a full-grown adult, I can personally say that I have never perceived Percabeth to be an abusive relationship. I am able, as an adult woman, to perceive when a relationship is abusive, and for me, that's not the case for Percabeth at all. Today, I am trying to explain my point of view of why I don't personally think Percabeth is abusive, and I'm going to give examples, and I am going to show you guys why I think people think it's abusive and why it's actually not. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So to start off, I felt like I couldn't make this video without actually giving a definition of what an abusive relationship is, and I also will leave several links to resources down below if you want to know more how to detect an abusive relationship or how to get out of one. So I found a very informative website that I really liked. I will link it down below so you guys can check it out. So they had a list of characteristics and things that normally tend to happen in an abusive relationship. So basically, one of the partners tries to control the other's behavior. And also they threaten to harm them or their loved ones, and the other person is scared of them. And some of the characteristics in an abusive relationship are possessiveness, jealousy. They can accuse you of being unfaithful, or they can isolate you, and also, besides all this psychological violence, physical violence. So now, having seen all the characteristics of what a textbook abusive relationship is, let's see what some people think can be applied to Percabeth. I am basing this video of two specific posts. I thought about linking them in the video so you guys could check them out, but I don't want to send the authors of those posts any hate, so I'm just going to be referencing them without leaving the link, just because I don't want to be the reason why someone gets hate comments. So just letting you know, I'm not making this up, but I also don't want to risk these people getting bullied, so that's ultimately the decision I made. So, from what I've seen, most people cite 3 instances in the books that they believe are proof that Percabeth is abusive. And those are the short story, The Staff of Hermes, the dance scene in Titan's Curse, and the Judo Flip in Mark of Athena. Now, we're going to go through these chronologically and see if they are actually signs that Percabeth is abusive. Let's go. So, for the people who actually believe Percabeth is abusive, their first piece of evidence is the dance scene in Titan's Curse. Now, for those of you who don't remember, the Titan's Curse starts with Percy, Annabeth, and Talia going off to a military boarding school to find Nico and Bianca. Now, in this military school, they're having a dance, and to blend in, Talia starts dancing with Grover, and let me just set the scene. Hey, Talia called us. She was slow dancing with Grover, who was tripping all over himself, kicking Talia in the shins, and looking like he wanted to die. Also, no one thinks that's abusive. At least his feet were fake. Unlike me, he had an excuse for being clumsy. Dance, you guys, Talia ordered. You look stupid just standing there. I looked nervously at Annabeth, then at the group of girls who were roaming the gym. Well, Annabeth said, who should I ask? She punched me in the gut. Me, Seaweed Brain. Oh, right. So we went to the dance floor and I looked over to see how Thalia and Grover were doing things. And that's basically where that ends. So that is the piece of evidence that people use to prove that Percabeth was toxic from the beginning. So let's break this scene down. From what I said at the beginning of the video, from what I said constitutes an abusive relationship, this would qualify to some as physical abuse. But we have to take a lot of things into account. First of all, Percy and Annabeth are friends. At this point, we don't know about any crushes. They're just friends who are 13 to 14, and they might like each other in the future, but for now, they're teenage friends, young teenagers. And basically, they're at a dance, and Annabeth is like, this idiot is really asking me who he should ask to dance while I'm here. And people say it's abusive because she punches him in the gut, but honestly, I don't think that is abusive. Not only were they not dating, even though I think it would be fine if they were dating, because she didn't punch him in the gut and let him like KO on the floor. I feel like this is a playful punch, like, you dummy, ask me, why are you so dumb? But also people say that if the roles were reversed, if it was Percy who punched Annabeth, it would be considered abusive by everyone. And to that, I have to say, I disagree. The thing is, I am a tall person, okay? I'm coming out as a tall person. I am 5'8", so that's above average for women. And that means that I am basically a foot taller than my short friends. And that means that the relationship, the physical relationship I have with my shorter friends is different than the one that I have with my tall friend. I only have one friend who's taller than me. So basically, when I hang out with my shorter friends, they're the ones who are constantly hitting me, like slapping me or punching me, obviously playfully, because we're friends. So they're like, this feels so stupid to do by myself, but I don't have friends here right now, so I have to recreate it myself. You know, if it's playful, it's okay, but my short friends can do that to me, and I don't personally feel comfortable doing the same to them, just because they're shorter, and I am obviously physically stronger than them, because I am relatively much bigger than them, so I feel like with them, I can't be as physically playful as I can with my taller friend, because with my taller friend, I find that I can play around, like hit her playfully and stuff like that, just because she's more in like my same level. So I don't know if you can see where I'm going with this. The short person in a relationship, whether it's friends or an actual relationship, they're more likely to tend to hit the other playfully, and the other one just takes it because you're the big guy, you know? You can't just, even if you playfully hit them, it might hurt them just because proportionally you have more strength. So I'm sorry for that tangent, that weird example that I just gave, but basically I don't think this moment is at all abusive. First of all, they are 13 to 14 and they're friends. So a little like hit in the gut, I feel like it was mostly playful, and it's very important to consider how Percy reacts to this. He doesn't say ow, he doesn't say you sucker punched me in the gut, he doesn't crumble to the floor in pain, he doesn't react to it at all. And Percy is someone who really reacts to things, if not physically, at least in his head. He would have said something like, I can't believe you've done this, or something like that. So I feel like if Percy is not complaining, if he doesn't physically react like he's in pain, then why do you think it's abusive? This example feels like the least credible to me, just because they are 13-year-olds who are friends, and this just seems like puppies. You know, like someone playfully hitting their friend. I don't think this can be used as an example of something abusive, just because, like, context, man, context really freaking matters. They are 13 to 14 and they are friends, and Percy doesn't react like he's hurt, because he's not, because it didn't hurt, because Annabeth didn't mean it to hurt. So, not abusive, I think. Also, the post I'm basing this video around said that in this instance, the definition of physical abuse is any intentional act causing injury or trauma to another person by way of bodily contact. And I do not think that Annabeth meant to intentionally cause injury or trauma. She just meant to snap this guy out of it because he is a dum-dum. So our next piece of evidence I'm going to try to disprove is the short story, The Staff of Hermes. Context for this one. In this one, Percabeth is already a thing. They have been dating for a month. It's their 1 month anniversary and they are both 16. So they're dating and they are 16. And let me just read the scene to you. Okay, a little bit more context because I just remember what this scene is about. Basically, they just fought a giant, I think it was a giant, and they are escaping through a sewer. So Percy uses the sewer water to bring them up so they can leave the underground, and this is what happens. So, obviously, nothing happens to Percy. Far below, I heard caucus bellowing as millions, maybe even thousands, of filthy gallons of water slammed into him. Meanwhile, Annabeth alternately shouted, gagged, hit me, called me endearing pet names like idiot, stupid, dirty, moron, and topped it off with kill you. And that is something people have referenced to say that Percabeth is toxic and that Annabeth is abusive to Percy. So, context, like I said, is everything. Percy just unleashed the sewers of New York on top of Annabeth, who was not even ready because Percy didn't say anything. He just did it and she was supposed to go along. And they're climbing up a sewer with gallons of dirty water. I don't even want to know what's in it, falling on top of them while Percy stays clean and dry because he's the son of Poseidon. Annabeth is completely drenched in sewer water. She calls him an idiot, stupid, dirty, moron, and then she says she's gonna kill him, which people say it's abusive. Try getting drenched by hundreds of millions of New York sewer water and see how you would react, even if it is Percy. Have you seriously never threatened to kill your friends? Have you? I've never threatened my friends wanting to kill them. It's just something you say like, I'm gonna kill you, but you never mean it, and especially in this context. She had every right to say that to Percy and not mean it. Because to top it all off, it was their 1 month anniversary and Percy forgot to take her to a fancy dinner that he had promised her. And instead he's like throwing and drenching her with New York sewer water. So don't tell me that her calling him an idiot and gagging and trying to like hitting him like this because she's mad that he just drenched her with sewer water is abusive. Because if you're telling me that you would react any other way, you're lying. And this is from Percy's perspective. He doesn't say, Annabeth left me with 100 bruises. He doesn't say it really hurt me that she called me an idiot, or it really scared me that she said she was gonna kill me. Because they're friends, because he just drenched her with millions of gallons of New York sewer water. And he understands because it's his fault. I mean, he did get them out of trouble, but at what cost, man? And then, he says, I willed myself dry, a handy trick, but I still smelled pretty bad. Annabeth had old cotton balls stuck in her hair and a wet candy wrapper plastered to her face. I feel like this girl had every freaking right to say what she said and to say that she was gonna kill him, because honestly, who wouldn't? So, all in all, the more I think about it, the less I think this scene can be called abusive. Because in the context, man, context is everything. I really try to understand why people think it's abusive and see things from their perspectives. But Annabeth is totally justified in doing and saying what she did, because Percy's reactions are what matters most. Percy isn't saying, I'm afraid of Annabeth. He isn't saying Annabeth hurts me. He isn't saying that Annabeth is scary or anything because they're friends and because she doesn't actually hurt him. I feel like if Percy said that really hurt or that's gonna leave a mark or something like that, then yeah. But he literally never mentions any pain. And this guy is in pain all the time, so he does mention it a lot. So why doesn't he mention it if it's actually abusive? So for this one, they said that it's a sign of verbal abuse, which is a red flag, and that it is never okay to hit your significant other. There's a difference between knocking someone out with a punch or like hitting someone, like actually meaning to hurt them, and playfully hurting them. There's a difference. And if you don't understand that, I don't know what to tell you. There's a line between playful and abusive, and I don't think Percabeth ever crosses it. Okay, and the final piece of evidence that they use is the Judo Flip scene in Mark of Athena, which to some is one of the cutest Percabeth moments ever, one of the greatest couple reunions in literature, and to some, it's a sign of physical violence and an abusive relationship. So as per usual, let's read what actually happens. For context, Annabeth hasn't seen Percy in almost a year. He was kidnapped by Hera, and yeah, that's basically it. They reunite. Annabeth didn't mean to, but she surged forward. Percy rushed toward her at the same time. The crowd tensed. Some reached for swords that weren't there. Percy threw his arms around her. They kissed, and for a moment, nothing else mattered. An asteroid could have hit the planet and wiped out all life, and Annabeth wouldn't have cared. Percy smelled of ocean air. His lips were salty. Seaweed brain, she thought giddily. Percy pulled away and studied her face. Gods, I never thought. Annabeth grabbed his wrist and flipped him over her shoulder. He slammed into the stone pavement. Romans cried out. Some surged forward, but Reyna shouted, "Hold, stand down." Annabeth put her knee on Percy's chest. He pushed her forearm against his throat. She didn't care what the Romans thought. A white, hot lump of anger expanded in her chest, a tumor of worry and bitterness that she'd been carrying around since last autumn. "If you ever leave me again," she said, her eyes stinging, "I swear to all the gods." Percy had the nerve to laugh. Suddenly, the lump of heated emotions melted inside Annabeth. "Consider me warned," Percy said. "I missed you too." Annabeth rose and helped him to his feet. She wanted to kiss him again so badly, but she managed to restrain herself. And that's basically where the evidence for this claim ends. Okay, just so I don't get carried away, let me read what people think is abusive about this. Annabeth attacked him. Being sad is no excuse for physically harming anyone. Double standards. This would be considered wrong if the gender rules were reversed. Okay, and I think that is basically it. So let's break this down. So, like I've said 100 times before, context is everything. I know this scene is told from Annabeth's point of view, so this time we don't actually get to hear what Percy is perceiving in this situation, but Percy doesn't even say oomph. He doesn't say ow. He doesn't say anything that makes you think that he is in pain. Moreover, Annabeth still thinks that he has the curse of Achilles, which means that he can't be hurt no matter what she does. So taking that into account and taking the fact that they have been sparring partners for years, they have fought besides each other, they have trained together at Camp Half-Blood, they've probably sparred like this 100 times before. Annabeth knows how to judo flip people. And if you've seen judo flips, the other person, even though they don't know it's coming, they know how to land so it doesn't hurt. And Percy being a half-blood who has fought in hundreds, dozens of battles, he knows how to land. Like, even if he hadn't fought that many times before, we get told time and time again that demigods have amazing reflexes, and Percy could do like the jump roll thing from book 1 before training at Camp Half-Blood. So this dude can land well after being judo flipped, like no problem. On top of that, Annabeth does think he's invulnerable, that nothing she or anyone can do can hurt him. Taking those two facts into account, how could this be considered abusive? Annabeth does not want to hurt him at that point. She wants to feel better. She wants to feel that he is there, and she is very angry, not at him, at the world. So being on top of him makes her feel in control of this situation, from what I gather from this exchange. So the fact that she doesn't think that anything can hurt him, that Percy and Annabeth have sparred together for years, and that Percy is more than capable of landing after being judo flipped without hurting himself. How is this abusive? I didn't want to be this heated about this video, because if people do consider it abusive, that's their prerogative. You know, I'm not going to come in here be like, dude, this can't be abusive, because I'm a Percabeth shipper and what I say has to be true. You know, you can think whatever the hell you want. But in this instance, I don't know. Not me trying not to get emotionally involved and then doing just that. I'm such a mess. But I don't know. You guys tell me in the comments if you think they're abusive or not. Within the context and with what I've told you, people say that Annabeth calling Percy Seaweed Brain is verbal abuse. Literally, do you not have nicknames for your friends that aren't like very flattering? Don't you? Because they've known each other for 5 years, and Percy can be a little bit dense sometimes. Honestly, if Percy had any issue with this, he would have told her. You know why? Because he tells Talia. Because when Talia confronts him and calls him Seaweed Brain in the Titan's Curse when Annabeth is missing, Percy, he goes crazy. He's like, oh, the only person who can call me that is Annabeth. So clearly, he cares if other people call him that, but he doesn't mind if Annabeth does, because at this point, it's just filled with love and affection. She doesn't call him Seaweed Brain to make him feel small, to make him feel stupid, because Annabeth, more than most people, knows how smart and witty Percy is when the situation calls for it. So when Annabeth calls him Seaweed Brain, she's like, it's an endearment. It's a term of endearment. And people are like, well, if Percy calls her Wise Girl, then she shouldn't call him Seaweed Brain, because Wise Girl is a compliment. That's because Percy couldn't think of anything better to call her. There's literally a fragment of one of the Percy Jackson books dedicated to explaining this. He's like, oh, Wise Girl or Owlhead are such lame comebacks. Like, this boy could not figure any other nickname to call her, because all of the ones related to Athena are good. So that's it. That's the reasoning. I don't think I can take much more of this, so this is where I'm ending the video, because I think I've been going on for too long. So please leave a like if you like this video, comment down below if you agree or disagree, subscribe if you haven't yet, and click that bell button so you get notifications every time I post. I post twice a week, on Mondays and on Fridays, and I guess I'll see you guys next time if I survive this video. Bye!